A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome to the show Reflections, where we select a particular verse from the Holy Quran or a hadith from the Aimma alayhimus salam and discuss its contemporary relevance to the individual and society today. Today we'll be discussing verse number 14 of Surah Al-Imran. With me today to discuss this verse is Sayyid Arif Rizvi. Sayyid Arif, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show. And inshallah we'll be able to expand on this verse and get its contemporary understanding.
Inshallah.
Now, man is a being that has the capacity to be influenced in various directions, both good and positive and worthwhile, and on the opposite side, evil, bad and futile actions. He can be led to these actions. This particular verse talks about the material traps of this life, and how I would say majority can be inclined to these traps, and hence lose their overall purpose. Now, women, children, and wealth and possessions really occupy most men in today's world. If you look at even the so-called desired American dream, it's all about having possessions and attaining a certain level of possessions and being able to multiply the possessions. And this seems to be overall in society the goal. What is this particular verse describing about this inclination, and how should we respond to it?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This particular verse of Surah Al-Imran talks about the specifics of something which the Quran defines as Hayat al-Dunya, which comes in the end of the verse. The Quran is talking about the worldly life. What is worldly life? Its specifics are mentioned in this particular verse. Now, life, if you have to understand towards what point Quran is pointing towards in this verse. The Quran is presenting a beautiful fact of life over here in this particular verse, specifically in this verse of Al-Imran. But prior to that, we need to understand what is the meaning of life, and we have certain perceptions and understanding of meaning of life, but in the Quranic definition, what is the meaning of life? Now, life is something which cannot be understood intellectually, like many other things, which can be only understood by signs and symbols. Okay, like for us, one of the signs of life is someone breathing. We call it that he has got life. So one of the symbols and prerequisite of life is growth, which is enhancement and moving forward. Anything which grows, we consider that is something which is living over here. And then in this growth also there are various degrees of existence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given life to various beings and with different degrees, and amongst that man is one. Man is having life which has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The life which has been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to man and to other human beings, there is a difference over here. The difference is that man has to live as per his choice. He has been given a path, he has been given a direction which he has to follow over here, and man grows in this direction, removing his weaknesses and trying to achieve perfection. Now, if you refer to Surah Nahl, ayah number 97, which very specifically talks about the definition of life, it says, "Man amila salihan min zakrin aw unsa wa huwa mu'minun fala nuhyiyannahu hayatan tayyiba." It says that whoever does amal salih, whether men or women, means life and the definition of life is not different for men and women over here. Whoever does amal salih with faith and has faith is the condition. Verily to him will we give hayat tayyiba. Tayyiba means something pure, a purified life, a life that is good and pure, and we will bestow on such their reward according to their best of actions over here. Now, Quran is talking about here in this verse Hayat Tayyiba, whereas in the verse which we use as the title of this discussion of Al Imran, Quran is talking about Hayat Dunya. So it's very clear that there are two types of life. One is Hayat Tayyiba, the purified life, and another is Hayat Dunya, which is the abased life which is selected by man's choice and takes men towards lowliness over here. Now, in understanding Hayat Dunya is where difficulty comes. Hayat Tayyiba is fine, it's a purified life, and Quran specifically talks, and for Hayat Dunya, man has gone under a lot of misunderstandings, which is Ifrat and Tafreed on both the sides. On one side, in pursuit of Hayat Tayyiba, man has disconnected himself completely from the worldly life, which is like tasawwuf and all these things which are there, a total disconnection. Where man considers this life in this world in which we are living, the materialistic life, should be completely disconnected and should be detached from. This is one. Second misunderstanding by men is that since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created me in this world, Allah has made all the things, whether it is men, women, cattle, tilth, what this verse talks about, is all creation from Allah. And Allah says also in the Quran in various places about all these things that you derive benefits from it, which means this has been all made for me by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hence I have to make the best possible use, but the best it is misunderstood as make the maximum use out of it, and that's where man gets drowned in worldly life over here. So two lives are very clearly and very explicitly defined over here. And again in this Surah Baqarah verse number 212 is this is the preceding verse, the prerequisite to understand verse number 14 of Al Imran, which again starts with the same way. Zuyyilin nase kafaru al hayat dunya wa yaskharuna min alladhina amanu. Means those who disbelieve, those who don't have faith, for them this love of world, this hayat dunya has been made decorous. They consider love of world as something very good. Worldly life is very good. And this is why they are deniers. Not kafir. In this moment the word kafir come, our mind goes to some other idol worshippers. No,
right,
the kufr over here is denial. They are the one who are denying Allah. Though on their lips they would be saying La ilaha illallah. But for them, for those whom this life of world looks as something decorous and something great, they are actually the deniers, and they mock on those who believe. Means what? Those who are controlling their worldly lives, those who are pious, those who are muttaqi, they call them orthodox, they call them backward, they call them downward. These things are there. So here in this verse again, the Quran continues to say that وَالَّذِينَ أَتَّقُوا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَاللَّهُ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ الْحِسَابِ. Means it says those who love this world, including, now the Quran says including women and children, accumulated piles of gold and silver, horses of mark, livestock and farms. These are the wares of life of this world. These are mata'e dunya. These are the goods of this world. But with Allah is what? Man yasha'u bi ghairi hisab. Means with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the good destination over here. Now, if you go forward to this verse of Surah Al Imran, now what this Surah Baqarah verse is telling? That these are the goods of this world. This is the mata of this world, which is made decorous for those who deny truth, those who deny faith. In the other way of looking around, those who consider the worldly life as decorous means they are deniers. So the classification between faith and disbelief, between faith, iman and kufr, is made in this verse on the basis of how you look at this worldly life. Worldly life is the criteria which is segregating, which is dividing the people into two categories, those who believe and those who do not believe. Now the Quran goes into the specifics over and tells what is the meaning of Hayat ad-Dunya. Does it mean disconnecting from everything? Does it mean not using these things like whatever is talked about? What is the actual problem over here?
Right,
is
because we do have an inclination, very strong inclination from a very young age. The child wants to go to the supermarket and buy this, buy more. and accumulate
Yes.
and experience and have more. So obviously there is an inbuilt mechanism within us as men that wants to have more. So what is it for really? If we get caught into these traps, yet we have these magnetic forces to obtain these things, then isn't it like God has created a conflict within us?
Yes, it seems like God has created a conflict, but that is what is the success of man lies. You know, if there were no traps laid, and if the journey was absolutely smooth without any obstacle, then what's the difference between man and an angel? There is no difference. Man has to go through these traps, but the beauty and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He has explicitly made these traps open to you. That as you are walking, here is a trap, here is a trap, this is the danger of this trap, this is the danger of this trap. This is the trap in which if you fall, you will not be able to come out. From here you can still come out, and this is the way to come out.
Okay.
All these things are properly devised, planned and given to human being, and these verses are talking not just about the trap, they're also talking about what is actually this trap, how you are getting trapped over here. The verse of this Surah Al-Imran points about a very beautiful fact. In the beginning of the verse itself, it says Zuyyal lin-nasi hubbu shahwat. It's telling not love of women, not love of cattle, not love of money. It's telling it is hubbu shahwat. Shahwat, which is from the word ishtaha, which means desires, a longing, which is present inside human being. Desires are present, there is no doubt about it. A child who is innocent is having desire, a young man who is matured is having desire. Child out of innocence wants everything. But a young man has been given an intellect and aql to decide whether he really needs to go for this or not.
Right, yes.
So ishtaha is there. Ishtaha is given by Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not criticizing ishtaha, which is desires. What the criticism is over hubbu shahwat, means love for desires over here. Not love for things. Love for things is natural. Love for women is there, love for children is there, love for gold and silver is there, love for factories is there. It is natural. But this love, when it goes to that stage where it becomes love of ishtaha, love of the desires, that is where it becomes a problem over here.
Can you explain that a bit more? Because what is it really a love of desire?
Yes, this is what I want to come in. This verse specifies over here. The love of desires of women. Quran specifically lists certain things,
right,
and
yes.
these things which the Quran is listing is covering almost entire worldly materialistic things. It is covering everything. Love of women, love of desires of women, not love of women. Love of desires of women and sons and hoarded treasures of gold and silver and well-bred horses and cattle and tilt is made seem decorous to human being. Now, certain things if you look in life like knowledge, ibadat, there is no desire in that. Whereas in these things which the Quran is talking, there is desire. Why there is desire? Because there is an element of pleasure in this. All these things which the Quran is listing, there is the element of pleasure, and it is the pleasure which is attracting men towards it. Whereas knowledge, ibadat, all these things, there is no materialistic pleasure in this. This is the reason there is no ishtaha for these things. Ishtaha is for those things where there is materialistic pleasure over here. Now Quran is talking about love of women. Fine. If you don't have attraction towards women, how are you going to reproduce and how is the generation going to go forward? Which means if you are going towards the woman for the sake of pleasure, then it is ishtaha. Definitely you will go for pleasure. But if you have the purpose behind in your mind, then you will be satisfied when you meet the purpose. Means you marry a woman, and if you are able to reproduce, there is no need to get married again.
Sure, yeah.
If you look at one woman, you like her, you marry her, now again you look at another woman. Why looking at na-mahram is prohibited? Because that creates desires for acquisition. Once you look at na-mahram, you feel the desire that she should be mine. What is this? This is love of desires. Though you know that hundreds of women which a young person is looking on the street, he also intellectually knows that he cannot acquire everyone. Everyone cannot be his wife. So why is he looking?
This is love of ishtaha. He is in hope. He is in love of his desires to go for women. He is not in love of women. That desire is pushing him. Similarly, love of children. Love of children is fair. Absolutely. But love of children, love of desires of children is different. Where I want children so that I could be known. Like in the Arabs, it used to be how many child I have 10, I have 12, I have 15.
Yes, yeah.
That is what is a problem over here. Problem is not loving the children which you have. Love of having children, desires of children for the sake of certain other benefits. Now you come to love of gold and silver. Kantar. What is the meaning of kantar over here? Kantar means piles, not gold and silver. Piles of gold and silver. Now how much are you going to use for yourself?
So a big bank account.
Yes, that's what it is all about. Man is in love of, oh, every day he opens the files and says, look where I have invested, how my mutual funds are growing, how my shares are growing, how my investments are growing. No, that is all on paper. He goes on internet, look at the bank statement, oh, today no new payment has come, now it is $1.5 million. How does it help him? Is he using that? Nothing. But still he is getting pleasure out of it by looking at it. This is what is ishtaha. Ishtaha means going after these things, but knowing that this is not going to be used by me. It will not be used. I am just in love of accumulating more and more, more and more, more and more. And this is what Quran says is hayat ad-dunya. Where you are striving for acquisition of more, where your need, your qana'at, you are not contented with it. Once you are in pursuit of more and more in life, for materialistic pleasures, then your life is hayat ad-dunya. And Quran says, in this context, you are in kufr. You are not completely in the valley of faith over here. Because ishtaha is this critical point, where loving for more, love of desires of these things, love of having these thoughts that I need more. The love of these thoughts is what is ishtaha. Not love of these things, because these are created by Allah for men only. This is the critical point which the Quran is referring to over here. And then Quran is talking about Wallahu indahu husnul ma'ab, which is a purified life. Which is a purified life where these things, where this love of shahwat of these things is not there. This is what this verse means over here. Hence it is pointing towards a contemporary problem which is going on in the society across the world today over here.
Yes, of course. I mean, it's the very same love that's causing wars and killing people, and and causing so much destruction for the hoarding of any one particular party's wealth. But I would like to go a step further and ask: is this love for desires based on the ego of the self? I mean, what is the engine of this love?
The engine of this is self-love. Hubbun nafs. This is the engine. I love myself. Hence, I want more and more myself. This is one. Second is the element of comfort and pleasure which is there inside. Man wants more and more comfort, more and more comfort, which is again coming back to self-love only, that I want myself to be comfortable. Then there is also an element of fear. Because he is having fear that tomorrow I might lose things, he wants to ensure that he has this much, that neither anything happens to him. And even for generations they make arrangement that my 7-6 generations should go on, be fed on these things. So these are the engines which are there behind this. And whereas if you look at the Islamic philosophy, like riba comes under this. This is the philosophy of riba in this verse. That why Islam is not allowing you to go for interest. Riba means accumulation. Riba means holding. When you are holding something and now you want to give to someone on a condition that he returns you back. This is what is riba. By riba you are accumulating thing. Any person who is giving money on interest, he is having love of desires. He has hoarded something out of love of money. He has accumulated. Rather than allowing that money to flow in the society, he has accumulated it, and now he is using misuse of it. Anything which gets accumulated, it will be misused. It will become stagnant. It is not going to give you the right fruits out of it. It is not going to remain pure. Any sort of accumulation turns into impurity over here.
Okay, with that I would like to take a break, and after the break I think what we'll do is to talk about how to overcome this, and as a believer, and what steps to take. Inshallah, we'll be back after a few minutes. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome back to the show Reflections. Today we've been talking about verse number 14 of Surah Al-Imran, which essentially talks about the major traps of the life of this world, that being, as per the verse, the women, children, and wealth as well. Prior to the break, we've been discussing the essence of desires, and how really this verse is talking about the desire for more, and the love of desires, which is at the core of I guess the engine of wanting more.
Yes.
Whether it may be women, it may be wealth, or possessions. It's just that feeling of feeling more powerful and
exactly,
and
yes.
more worthy, a sense of worthiness, which is entirely materialistic.
Yes.
Now, what are the ways to overcome this? Let's say someone, obviously with the culture that we have today, and from time immemorial, it's been the case as a trial to men, as you were saying.
Yeah.
How does one step out of this system of thinking and into a Quranic or a really human system or way of life?
This Quran is pointing towards two lives, Hayat al-Dunya and Hayat al-Tayyiba. Men's motive and goal should be to move towards Hayat al-Tayyiba, the purified life, which is hence the first point we have to remember in overcoming this is that ishtaha, love for things, is there. Love for things develops ishtaha, develops desires. Love is natural inside me. I love children, I love women, I love wealth, for example. I love wealth, then I get a desire to acquire wealth. It starts from love itself. But a stage comes where this desire of wealth, this wealth turns into zinat, zuyyina. This is what Quran is pointing towards, that this becomes an ornament for you. Means I think that my decoration, my ornament are only these things and nothing else. Whereas the Quran is telling ma'ab, your purified self is what is your ornament. Your batin is your zinat, not these zahiri things is your zinat. Has to come out of this, the first stage is having this awareness inside the self. That these things, if I go more after this, they will become a zinat for me. And this is going to take me away from this. Is the self-check which a person has to do. And man has to remind himself through in various ways. Like for example, like if you take medicine, there is no love for medicines. Though medicines has cure inside it, but human being doesn't love medicine.
Sure,
People are
yes.
not making pharmacies inside their home, which is required for survival of the self. If you look at the kitchen which is there inside the home, and if you look at the medical box which is there is a big difference. There's a full room which is a kitchen, there is a small medicine box which is there. Though medicines are for cure over here, but man is not in love. He is in love with wealth, but not in love with medicine. Why? Because there is no pleasure in this. Only it is for a purpose. If the same attitude gets developed towards these things also, that these things are for purpose. Like for a child, if you want to give a medicine, you give the medicine to a child in a sweet syrup, because child doesn't have that knowledge that this is good for my, it is for my cure.
Yes,
so you have to sweeten it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done the same thing. He has put these spices and taste and lust and pleasure and everything. He has sweetened these things, which is actually for a purpose. Now, even if the medicine is sweet, you do not give a complete bottle to the child to drink it. You give it in that particular limited dose only.
Dose, right, yes.
Even if it is sweet, the child might say sometime, this is very nice, give me more. But the parents are not going to give the child more, because it is going to kill him if he takes excess medicine over here. This kind of thinking needs to be developed as the first stage inside human being. Self-recognition, self-awareness is not to know what acts I should do. It's not to know how much more salat I can do to come out of these things. No, it's the self-awareness where I should be aware about myself, that my inclination towards thing, what is the motivation behind it? Is it only for the sake of acquiring more and more pleasure, or is it purpose-oriented? A purpose-oriented person automatically will start to stay away from this gradually, step by step. On the other hand, there is Hayat-e-Tayyiba, which means Amal-e-Saleh, which Quran talks about in Surah Nahl. That unless you are into Amal-e-Saleh, you are not going to come out of this trap. You are not changed your course towards Hayat-e-Tayyiba. Means you are standing at a point where you are moving towards Hayat-e-Dunya. You got the awareness also that this is wrong. I need to control myself. You have put a brake over there. But man is such a creation that he is in a state of movement. He cannot apply a brake and stand still over there.
Right,
he
yes.
has to move on the other direction. Like wealth. So what does it mean? Should I stop acquiring wealth? Should I stop earning? Should I stop doing business when people are coming to and giving me new and new opportunities? They want to buy I just say, now I have earned my bread and butter, I want to go home. Is it haram to do these things? Is it not permitted? Is it worldly life? No. Love for wealth is not a problem. It's the desires for more. Fine. I can acquire more. If I am acquiring because it becomes my zinat, then this is Hayat-e-Dunya. But if I acquire for Amal-e-Saleh, it becomes Hayat-e-Tayyiba. Then the course completely changes over here and he is out of the trap over here.
So to use your wealth for the benefit of mankind.
Exactly. Woman is for what? For the benefit of making a family, for giving me spiritual comfort as an individual, and for giving me children who are again an act of Amal-e-Saleh which I am having for continuance of humanity over here. Cattle and horses, which is talked over here, refers to in today's world cars and industries and factories.
Right, yes.
Because these were the factories, cattle were the factories and the means of business at that time. So these factories, love of these factories because more comes in my name, that is ishtaha. But if I have this love is there and I want to acquire this also, but to do Amal-e-Saleh, this is where the man comes out of trap. Today what we do is, fine, I am earning more, and at some point someone makes me realize, no, this is Hayat-e-Dunya. What I do, the leftovers I start to give in charity. The leftovers, the least out of my income, the worn and torn dresses, those things I will contribute for charitable work,
Right.
which is good. But Quran is telling that is not Amal-e-Saleh. You have to do Amal-e-Saleh. Amal-e-Saleh means developing a society, empowering a society to move in the same direction of perfection, which you have recognized, which you are aware of. Now make others also move in that direction. If you are successful in doing that, you are automatically out from that particular trap. These are two sides. One side is Hayat-e-Dunya, one side is Hayat-e-Tayyiba. And Quran very clearly says that the line in between is kufr and iman. If you have faith, then your journey should be in this direction. If you have disbelief, then you are in this direction. So moment you are coming out from Hayat-e-Dunya, you have to be on Hayat-e-Tayyiba. If you are not, then even you might be saying, fine, I have earned enough, I have done this much. But still you are in Hayat-e-Dunya till the time you are not doing Amal-e-Saleh. Hence Amal-e-Saleh is one solution which the Quran is presenting over here, which keeps you safe from this trap over here.
I guess the challenge for most believers, because if we take the assumption that that our viewers, most of them would be believers, that the challenge that they face is that there's a tug of war between the two. At some point you feel more spiritual, and for example in the month of fasting, you tend to let go of the worldly desires. This sort of softens and goes away. But yet again, immediately after Eid, your psychological engines, your work, your time, your body is all being used to come back to that, and then there's a tug of war that's constantly happening. I mean, that's what we see, especially with the youth as well. How does one consistently move towards that direction of Hayat-e-Tayyiba which you are mentioning? Because for example, I would be having some maybe spiritual experiences due to reflection, as you say, or prayer or dua, that takes me away from that worldly life. However, when I drive back home, I see a billboard that says, okay, look, there's a brand new model of the same car I'm driving, that makes me feel that now I'm sort of letting go of this one and I should go for the other. I mean, how does one practically have the right balance? Because I guess it's very challenging to follow it, because in this day and age, everyone looks for the role model.
Yes.
What's the right role model for one to follow?
Yeah, that's a good point over here. The thing is, this kind of thoughts which come, fine, I see something, I want more over here, is only when you don't have activities or proper well-defined movement towards Hayat-e-Tayyiba. I have got the reflection, I have got the awareness that this is Hayat-e-Dunya, this is worldly life. But now I have to come towards this side. I need to have a ground over there as well. If I have the ground, moment this thought comes as a new car model, how much it is going to cost me? $100,000. But I have these many projects going on which are amal saleh, which needs this money. Then my willpower is more strong to go over to that particular site over here. The point which you discussed in beginning of this question was about like 1 month of Ramadan, we practice in spirituality, then eventually 1st of Shawwal we are back to a normal routine, normal course, as if nothing has happened. As if nothing has happened. Yes, Ramadan has not made any difference in my life, which you see it is fact. Ramadan is not making difference on 1.2 billion Muslims across the world.
Sure, yeah.
Hajj is not making difference on millions of Muslims who go for Hajj and take all the hardships and pains over there. Azadari is not making difference on the Shias. Why? Because all these things are done without marifat. These are done as habits. We are habituated. We know that if I don't fast, I will be punished. It's for the sake of the hell fire, or it is for the sake of the society. It is for all these things. It is because of lack of marifat which is there. If marifat is there, then these acts are purpose oriented, and the effects of these acts are going to prevail for a long time to come, even after the month of Ramadan. It's going to not make any difference on my lifestyle whether it is 1st of Shawwal or whether it was the 30th of Ramadan. Except for that, I will be eating during the daytime. Otherwise, my spirituality, the level which I have attained in spirituality in this month is going to persist over there. I'll not be involved in illegitimate gatherings, because now it is Eid, it is festival, it is feast, it is all these things which generally happen. This is a proof that Ramadan has not done anything on me. It's a very clear proof that it has not made any difference.
We should be seeing a gradual improvement of society year by year, as as these chunks of time are meant to squeeze that spiritual self. This is not happening.
And just as an individual level, where the Quran is pointing towards that this love of ishtaha, hubbul ishtaha, which you have, takes you towards hayat-e-dunya. Same thing is applicable at a social level. If you are a group, which could be linguistic, which could be cultural, whichever way. As a group, you can see where this group is moving towards. If majority are moving towards in this direction only, where acquisition of wealth, acquisition of women, acquisition of materialistic things is the prime purpose, and that too with that purpose, first thing is I do more and more myself, and with little leftovers I try to do something for the religion over here. Then this is a clear proof that the entire society is moving in this particular direction. For Bani Israel, Quran which very specifically says that remember the ni'mat which we have given to you, the bounties and one of the ni'mat which was given to Bani Israel was a very good luxurious living life. Whatever they would ask from Allah, Allah would give them. The luxuries which they could perceive at that particular time in that scenario. Good food and good food, good accommodation, horses, all these things were given to Bani Israel. Allah was giving them. But Allah was giving them not because Allah just liked them. Allah was giving them as a test to see how much they get involved and they get indulged into this hayat-e-dunya. And a time came when Allah punished them. Because we gave you all the ni'mat and you did not use it to build a hayat-e-tayyiba on this particular ni'mat. Like today, if you look at the Islamic Republic of Iran, there are so many resources, natural resources, full of oil, petrochemical and other agricultural things which are produced from Iran is exported to a limited extent because of political sanction reason. A lot of exports are not happening, but it's a naturally rich country, self-sufficient country, and they have used these natural resources for empowering the nation. Those who have not gone there, specifically non-Shias, I would say Shias at least go in the name of ziyarat, not to see the revolution over there, but at least for ziyarat they go over there. They have seen, compared to this part of the world and Iran, which is under sanctions since 34 years after 8 years of extreme war, look at, don't go on the spiritual side, look at the materialistic side. If you look at the materialistic side, the standard of living is not less than European standard, means as compared to infrastructure.
Right, yes.
The best transport system, the best road, all technology available at your disposal. People are living a comfortable life. There are no beggars on the street. There is no crime on the street. Safe community. Where is this coming from? Is this Hayat-e-Dunya? No, this is Hayat-e-Tayyiba. But they have used the means of the world for this purpose and made a spiritual environment over there around using the materialistic things over there. This is what should be the aim of every society, to develop a spiritual environment where maximum out of your materialistic gain comes towards amal saleh and minimum is used by me. And qanaat, contentment, is the formula which Quran is presenting, which in Islam is presenting. Contentment doesn't mean to be happy or satisfied on what I have. Contentment means to be satisfied on the bare minimum which I could survive with. That is qanaat. Again, these are all misunderstanding. Qanaat means just to say shukar Allah for what I am having. I am having 10 cards, I say Alhamdulillah, I am satisfied with Allah, He has given me 10. No, I need only one. I should be satisfied with one. If I am satisfied with one, then it is fine. If I am satisfied with pizza, it is not qanaat. If I am satisfied with a loaf of bread, then that is qanaat. This is the solution which the Quran is telling, that the level, the opposite side of ishtaha is qanaat. On one end is ishtaha, which is love of ishtaha, love of desires going on. Other side is qanaat. The more and more you become self-contented and you try to live with the minimum, that's where you are towards hayat-e-tayyiba, which is ma'ab, which is a purified life which Quran is presenting to you.
Okay, thank you, Said. Before we close the show, I would like to just point out that the global culture that we have today, it's all, in a sense, it's all one culture. It's all blended. It's all homogeneic, and it's being very actively and aggressively spread by the media. So wherever you go, the promotion of this love of desires, as we're discussing, is so prevalent everywhere. And I guess this is the major challenge that any human being will face growing up as a child, by being so exposed by just stuff everywhere, stuff, and have more and buy more and eat more and spend more, and more occasions is to even the sales and promotions just to increase that more. So how does a society or individuals counter this culture? Because obviously we need to counter it and replace it with something else, and media being the most powerful tool to promote any way of thinking. I mean, what should we do?
What is the root cause behind this culture? That is what we need to understand. What's the root? This culture which we have is a materialistic culture. The materialistic culture is based on materialistic tendency of human being, which is evident and visible. The spiritual tendency needs to be developed, whereas materialistic tendency is evident, it is seen. For West, men is only material, and this is where their culture is. A materialistic culture comes out because they look at men only as matter. Now, this culture which their philosophers have come out with as a materialistic culture, this culture has been induced across the globe through what media? Through what medium? No, television, these medium come later on. That's the next one. The fundamental medium through which this culture has taken roots in us, in Muslims also, is the education system. The education system which we have, which we call the secular education system, it's materialistic oriented. It's the education system where you qualify to get a degree, you get a degree to get a job, and job is to earn and then further promotion to earn more and more.
Right,
From the
yes.
basis itself, you teach, even we at home teach our children what you should study. If you don't study, then what will happen? You will not be able to earn. You will be, you give an example to a poor person, beggar. See, if you don't study, you will be like him,
Right,
begging on the
yes.
street. So the orientation in entire axis of education is materialism. To counter this problem, we need to seriously, collectively look at how to address the education system problems which we have in our society, where absolutely there is no attention. We are making Islamic school, but again the teachers who are coming to teach there are taught by the same system who are coming and teaching. Our Islamic school starts with a dua and ends with a dua, and there is a time for salat, and there is hijab, and there is halal food served in the canteen. This is what is an Islamic school which we have. Or teach Quran or maybe half an hour lecture on diniyat, but the orientation is not towards the actual philosophy of creation of men. The perception of kainat, universe, is not the divine perception which is given. It's a scientific perception, materialistic perception which is given. A child which goes to a school and university and spends 15 cream years of his life, he's been going through this kind of orientation. It's very difficult for you or for me to bring him out of this. It's only miraculous things which happens. Very few people. This is the reason today you see very few people in a society who are really doing amal saleh. Why? Because they got this tawfiq. Tawfiq was for everyone. They capitalized on this because they somehow managed to come out of this trap, which would be some tutor, some guide, someone from somewhere has helped them. But majority is not. Majority is trapped. They're trapped in the education system over here. Hence, if you want to really solve this problem from its roots, then we have to seriously look at our education systems. That is going to. One is this education system, which is worldly education, which you need to live in the world. You cannot say, I will only make hawzas and I don't want to teach worldly sciences, because
Right,
worldly
yes.
sciences are also religious sciences. They are not different. On the other hand, we need to have a system of Islamic seminary. That kind of hawza system which really produces resources who are the think tank of a society, who orient the society, give direction to the society. At present, our society is in the hands of feuds, which the Quran says mala. The malas are running the society. The society should come in the hands of intellectuals who are well aware about their self, well aware about the creation, well aware about the orientation. This is the class which the Quran says, why not a few people from you go out, learn religion, come back and then teach others. This is the class which is the think tank of a society. Today, West has adopted this principle of Quran. They have a think tank who is continuously thinking how to meet our evil objectives in next 100 years, 200 years, which is coming from now. But we as Muslims don't even have a think tank to start thinking, because we don't have that factory to produce the think tanks. Our think tanks are going to Oxford, Harvard, and when they come and you teach them Bismillah over here, you teach them Allah is great, they learn over there that matter is great, science is great, this kind of management, that kind of management, and then when the amalgamation happens over here, what comes out is something is too worst, which Amir al-Mu'mineen says, if Haqq and Batil were separate, it was good.
Right, yes.
But Haqq and Batil is adulterated, and this adulteration starts from the education system. And this is the fundamental problem which we need to address today.
Okay, Sayyid, thank you very much for your sharing your thoughts,
Okay.
and inshallah we'll be having you soon in the
Thanks.
show. We thank the viewers for tuning in today to the show, Reflections, and we hope you've learned and absorbed as much as I have, and we hope to see you soon in the next episode, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.